Hi, welcome to a Roboflow training movie in regards to Roboflow triggers. Triggers is a technology that allows you to listen to fields or records or categories and to take an action when something happens. In this example, I'm going to listen to the categories field value changed. I'm going to say I'm waiting for the categories field of a record to be changed. I want to do something if that changes. So I'm selecting that. And then there's out of the box a number of things you can do with it. I want to use the Roboflow trigger. The Roboflow trigger, remember triggers are executed by the Cumulus server. The Roboflow trigger will just write the information about what just happened. For instance, the categories field has changed for a record into an XML file. So if I select this and then select the drop folder, I created already a drop folder to save some time. It will, when I save this, automatically create XML file. And so here is my drop folder. It's empty now, and this is my trigger folder that I just specified, and I'm dropping, for instance, here. So this triggers a change in the categories field. So that means that Roboflow by the Cumulus server application, the Roboflow server trigger is executed. This creates an XML file. In this XML file, you will find all the information about what just happened. The most important part is the catalog name and the record ID. Those two give you the most information that you can use. Now, on the other side, in Roboflow, you have the ability to create a workflow. And let's call this hot collection workflow, wherein I'm going to process a list of records. And normally in this type of workflow, you could set here, you set the catalog name, of course, and so sample catalog, and you can perform a query, search something, and do something with the records. But instead of a search, you can also use the trigger folder. So if here I'm selecting the trigger folder, then what this will do is it will look for any XML file in that folder that is a trigger from the sample catalog. And then it will process that by searching for the record. And then, like it was searched by a query, it is then part of the result and will be processed record by record. On top of that, you can add an extra filter of a query, which is a narrow search on the triggered records found. This is a good technology to process events that happen in a catalog. But there is also another way. This procedure is very good if you have triggers coming in from one catalog or maybe from 5 catalogs, but because then you can specify all the catalog names separated by semicolon. The workflow itself will open the sample catalog, will look for all the XML files about the sample catalog, will process them and then close the catalog, and it will then go on to the next, to the next, to the next, maybe 5 catalogs. But it will also open the catalogs that it doesn't need to open, which means that it does need to open the catalogs maybe for nothing if there are no events. For 5 catalogs, that is not the end of the world. If you have 50 catalogs doing the same procedure, then that is a lot of waste of energy for Cumulus and for Roboflow. So a better way of doing that is to create another type of workflow, which is a hot folder workflow. I'm going to look in that particular folder. So I'm going to process newly dropped files. and I'm going to look in that folder, looking for the XML files that are coming in. So the same drop folder from my trigger in the other workflow is now becoming my hot folder. In this workflow, I'm only receiving XML, so if you want to be very sure nobody else drops something in here that you don't want to process, you can specify it this way, that it only processes the trigger XML files that are coming in. And what you can do then is you can say, okay, there's a new file coming in. I'm going to read that file. So I'm going to do a file folder action, and I'm going to say, please store this XML file as a table. Read it in memory as a table. That means that now it has this file. So this is my trigger table. And the next instruction that I can do is now I can read those variables of that table. So now I'm going to the table functionality, and in the table functionality I'm going to say, okay, please store the information in this table, and store this as parameters. So I'm looking for the instructions as stored text. So instead of going through all the elements of this table one by one, looking for the table name and for the record ID, I have one instruction that does that in one go. That means that every element that is available in this XML, like category record ID, like new pack, like catalog name, all these become text variables in my script. So from this point on, I'm saying the trigger table, you can read this as parameters. So now I have a catalog name in there. So now I can say I want to open, first going to Cumulus catalog, and I can say I want to open the catalog. I want to open the catalog here, and now it asks me to specify the catalog name. I don't have the catalog name because it comes from the XML, so I'm going to use the tag instruction, and I'm going to use here what is in the XML file. So if I go back to the XML file, the tag is called catalog name. So I know that I now have in my script a variable called stored text called like this. I prefer to type it here and then copy paste it because the drop down field above is a little critical on that. So now I'm saying open the catalog. So I have a trigger from a certain catalog, so open it. And then I can say, okay, open catalog. And always good procedure is whenever you open a catalog, make sure you close it. Of course, you will put instructions in between, but people tend to forget, and these are the things that make your Cumulus installation or your Robo installation take up a lot of resources if you open catalogs that you forget to close. So now I can go and search for the record. So now I can say I have a Cumulus catalog functionality. What do I want to do? I want to find records. Okay, find records. It's going to say which catalog. Well, the one I just opened. And what is the query? Well, I'm going to say the query is ID equals, and what's my ID? Well, again, I have this stored element in there. Of course, I'm not going to search for the catalog name, but now I'm going to search for the record ID. The record ID, which I have here in this field. So, which has been stored inside my script automatically. So now when I do this, records found. And now I can process this. So now I can say I can process the records in this catalog, in this result, in this collection. So process the files, but the records in this collection. So I just did a search, and the research is a new collection, and that is what I'm searching in. And now whatever I would have put in the other script to process the records that came in, I will put in this script, because now I find one record I process it, and then I close the catalog. So this is a very simple way to, in case of a lot of catalogs, if this way you don't have to specify the catalogs, you don't have to update the workflow whenever a new catalog is created. You just set in the catalog triggers, you set the trigger to drop it in that particular folder, and automatically the workflow will pick it up, it will read, and it will open the catalog because the catalog is inside the XML file. And that is how you very quickly can create a workflow that simulates actually the same thing as the hot collection template does without having to specify the real catalog names. And now, as I said, you can do this. Now let's make this workflow a little bit smarter. And what I mean is, with a little bit smarter, if I have 300 records being modified in a catalog, in the same catalog, then the disadvantage is that it will open and close the catalog 300 times, which it doesn't do in the other workflow if there's 300 records modified in that loop. So it also depends how often you run your loop. If this is something you want to run once a day, then the other workflow is a better solution, the hot collection workflow. If you want to run this every day, then it's better to do it this way. So what we are going to do is we're going to add an additional test here just before we go and open the catalog. I'm going to say if this is the first, I'm going to test what record we are, and I'm going to say if this is the first record of this loop, first item, and so I'm saying test if first item of loop, and I always add comments to my scripts so it makes them easier to use. And I'm going to do the same thing here at the end. I'm going to say new if, conditional again, if progress, yes, and then I'm going to say if last item of loop. If this is the first item of the loop, I'm going to open a catalog. And if it's the last item of loop, I'm going to open the catalog as well. So what I did is a mistake here. It's cut, close, paste. It doesn't need to go inside. What I do want to put in here is this. I want to say cut, paste. Good. I'm going to close on the last item. I'm going to close my catalog. If this is the first catalog, if this is the first item of the loop, I'm going to sorry, I don't need to test here. This is the first item of loop. I need to test if there's a text. So I'm going to say cut. Sorry, my mistake. I'm going to say here new test record table field, and I'm going to say what do I want to test? Conditional test text. I want to know if this is a new catalog. If this catalog was already open, I'm not going to open it. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to say here, oh yeah, the variable is not here, of course. It's called catalog. Catalog log. Wow. Oh, my caps lock is on. Catalog name. Like that. That is the stored variable that has just been stored. And I'm going to say if this equals, and then I'm going to pick up a stored variable. Now I'm going to store a variable, and I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to say I pick up a stored variable, and I'm going to call that stored variable previous catalog. I'm also going to prefix the name of the variable with global, because I want this variable to persist, to continue to exist for every record that is going to be processed. And that means that it needs to be stored in the global variables and not in the local variables of this one record. On top of that, I'm going to put a semicolon here, which means in case it doesn't find anything, if that variable doesn't exist yet, this will be the default value, being nothing. So here I go. So what I'm doing is I test if new catalog is same as previous catalog, just like that. Oh, yeah, edit. I want to have this here. I want this Control C, Control V, and then I'm going to take this with me to the next stage. You will understand in a moment. So now only if it's the same name, then I don't have to do anything. But I want to put a not in front of it. So if it's not the same, then I will have to open my catalog. So what I'm doing is test if new catalog name is not same as previous one. So it's just the name that you give it, but that makes it a little bit more understandable what you want to do. In that case, good, paste, I'm going to open the catalog. And what is again very important is that here I prefix this with global, because otherwise the catalog will only be opened for this one record, and afterwards the catalog object disappears. So now, because I prefix it with global, it will persist. So if it's not the same, I'm going to open it, but important is if the catalog was already open, then it will, of course, need to be closed. So I'm going to test catalog. Well, I'm going to say test object. So I'm just going to test a result. Test if a result exists. So I just want to know, does where is it? The catalog object, does it already exist? So result without a tag, no, it's a Cumulus catalog. Does this Cumulus catalog already exist? Test if catalog is open. Test if catalog is open, in which case that if the catalog is open, I'm going to close it before opening the other one. So copy, paste. So now with our workflow, and if we open a new catalog, then we are also going to store the name of that catalog so that the next time it knows that this already exists. So I'm going to say text, I want, oh, sorry, wrong instruction. Good. I want to store the text. I'm saying new, and I'm saying here text, and I'm saying here store text. Store text. What text do I want to store, and what do I want to call it? Well, I want to store the previous catalog name, and I want to set to the catalog name, which it just has read from catalog name, which it just read from the table. So, sorry, from the Excel table. So I store it so that the next time I do a test, so if the first time I come into with 10 records, 10 XML files, the first one is read, and I test if my catalog name, which is this one from the Excel, equals this one. And of course it won't, because the first time this variable doesn't exist, so it will return an empty variable. So if it doesn't, if it isn't the same, it will go in here. Then it will test if that global catalog object already existed. If that global catalog object already existed, then it will know that the catalog is already open, and it will close it. So it will close the catalog. Notice this or that is the same for the workflow, because it will search first for the local variables and then for the global. If I prefix it with global, it searches immediately for the global variable. And then when it is closed, it opens the catalog for this new catalog. And then I'm storing the catalog name into the variable called global previous catalog. So then the next instruction is that it will here find the records. Again, to make exact, I'm going to do this. It's using the global catalog, and then here it is processing again from the global catalog the records, and that's of course instructions that you need to add. And then it tests when it has processed the very last XML file. Then of course we still need to close the catalog. So then it is important still to close this catalog. If we are now processing the second file in this same loop, then it means that when it tests here, it checks the catalog name variable. And if the catalog name is the same, it will just ignore this part of the instructions, and it will immediately do the find. If it is a different catalog, then it will check if the catalog object already exists, and the answer will be yes. So it will close the catalog and then open the new one, and so on and so on. So this is the more professional way to handle those workflows. So multiple triggers from multiple catalogs. If it's just a few catalogs, then you can very easily do it with a hot collection. If it's a lot of catalogs, it's better to specify it here, so that you don't have to, every time there's a new catalog, going to the hot collection to modify it, and so that the hot collection workflow doesn't open and close catalogs all the time that are not even being necessary to change or to open at that point. Good, this was a long training movie. I hope it helped you a bit. So if you have any questions, just let me know.